security forces in SAC, you know, 20% of our people, 20% of the Strategic Air Command was security forces. And obviously, it's a manpower-heavy organization, but we had them all over, not just the elite guard, but all over SAC. And they were professional, and they did demonstrate the professionalism. And you did the job you were supposed to do. People would come to SAC headquarters, and when they go away, that's one of the things they always mentioned. That was a nice trip, it was a good briefing, but boy, those guards, you know, that's a real military outfit. We had one visit from maybe some of you were there, he was the Secretary of Defense or whatever they called it for Japan, but he spoke no English. And so we found fortunately, a wife of one of our people she was Japanese, so she could speak. We trained her to give the SAC briefing, and she gave the SAC briefing in Japanese, and he understood. And he was very impressed. And but the main thing he was impressed about was the SAC. He couldn't stop talking about it. Well, one other thing, Exarban was going on at the time, so he said he'd like to see, I forget what it was, but some affair. And I couldn't go off the base, but I said to the Chief of Staff, Ed Harris, maybe you remember General Harris, at one time I said, Ed, you got to take this Japanese secretary down to Exarban. And he said, what will I talk about? And I said, tell them they did a good job at Pearl Harbor. He said, no, I don't want to tell them. They got down there after it was over. I said, how's it going? He said, not bad. He said he spoke no English, and he was sitting in one seat, right next to him is the interpreter, and then there's Ed Harris. So they're talking over the interpreter. And so, and Ed says to the interpreter, tell the secretary that Exarban is Nebraska spelled backwards. So he turns over and he jabbers to the secretary. Well, those of you who have seen Japanese language, they don't spell like we spell. Spelling backwards didn't make much sense. But he told, so he went back and said, and a little bit later, he comes back again. They spent the whole evening talking about Nebraska spelled backwards. but you did impress people. You did a great job, and the security in SAC was so vital because we had to demonstrate. General Power and General May used to say, I just assumed the Soviet Union would come over and see us, because then maybe they'd believe us, because we did things that were difficult to do, like Looking Glass and all of the duplications that we had, and we sometimes wondered why we did them, but we did them, and it was because we needed to prove that we weren't kidding. And it wasn't easy duty, but you did a terrific job, and I just want you to know how much it meant, because, you know, the Cold War didn't end. It was won, yeah, and you guys won it. You played a real part in winning the Cold War. And I'm worried now, because when they did away with SAC, I thought that was the biggest mistake. Of course, I was retired then, but we could sure use something like that today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to ask you to re-enlist.
Thank you.
If you lead us, we'll go.
I know that, you know, it was tough duty. I remember one Christmas Eve, Bobby baked a bunch of cookies, and she said, well, let's go down and give them to we were at Ramey, and it wasn't cold, but it was Christmas Eve, and she always thought Christmas Eve was kind of special, and she said, we'll go around and give them to the sentries that guard the airplanes. First one we went up to, she said, of course, he knew who I was, but I introduced Bobby, and we gave him a cookie, and she said, where were you last Christmas? Thinking, oh, I was at home with my parents or whatever. I said, no, I was here guarding the same damn airplane. She didn't ask that question, was she? Was he really? And I said, yeah, he probably was. But I do want you to know that you played a vital role in it, and I want to thank you for it. And Just keep the faith. Thank you.
General is a bottle, red wine for the Sager Reunion 2012, San Antonio, Texas. It's got our security police emblem, right on the back, the cycling guard. I get a vote. Says to General Keck, the Guardsman General. He probably has many challenge coins, but he doesn't have a sack guard challenge coin. I can get it out of the. There's a sack guard from our association. Thank you very much, General.
That's really special. I may drink the wine, but I'll sure keep the bottle. I might, just reminiscing now a little bit, and you went to the Security Museum today, I think, but in 1946, I was stationed with Warrant Officer Reginald B. Macy. I don't know if you know the name or not, but it was his son. He's a senior. And his son was Captain Macy that Benoit is one of the most remarkable security police stories that we have, and he's honored Air Force Cross and others. Then later, when I was I was Vice Commander of 509th at Pease, Warrant Officer Macy was my top cop, and later they gave me the base command, so I was able to work with him. And I want you to know that when you're in a command position, if an outfit's running real good, you don't want to mess around with them. So maybe I didn't come down and give you any personal guidance unless you needed it. But I always felt that's one part of my daily work that I don't have to worry about, and I thank you for that.